Good morning, good afternoon, actually, and welcome to Sihasin Hour. We're glad to have everybody join us today. Today is Wednesday, May 18th, and today we have a special guest with us, Joe Seidenberg. He can correct my pronunciation as we move forward, and he's going to talk to us about some home repair opportunities. And just, right now, as we're entering the summer months, we're in a construction season, and a lot of people are looking at their homes and wanting to make their homes more energy efficient, wanting to look at some of their roofing that might need some patchwork, just anything that they can do to repair their homes. And this now is really the time, as well as people attending to their fields and farming. We have a lot of our tribal members wanting to repair their homes. So just real briefly, my name is Mahayo Manus. I'm the Public Relations Director with Yehal Nido, the Navajo and Hopi Families COVID-19 Relief Fund, originally from Chinle, Arizona. Twitich Ini Nishle, Sinsikatni Bashishchin, Omaha Ada Shache, Cherokee Ada Chanela. That's where I'm from. That's who I am. And I just wanted to let you guys know. So today we have Joe, and I'm going to let Joe go ahead and introduce himself. So, Joe.
Hi, good morning and afternoon to everyone. My name is Joe Seidenberg, and I'm originally from Indiana, but I've been living in Flagstaff, Arizona for about 15 years. I have a background in international development and nonprofit management, and I've been the executive director for Red Feather Development Group now going on for 3 years. And prior to that, I had another 10 years at the organization. When I first started, I was a community coordinator. I was living on the Hopi Nation in the one section of rental housing that they have available for Pahanas or Bilaganas. And but it's been a true honor and journey as a non-native to be able to work with Hopi and Navajo communities to create healthier homes.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate that information. And you did talk a little bit in your introduction just now about Red Feather, but maybe you could tell us a little bit more about the group, the organization, how long you've been around, and what the focus is of your work.
Sure. So Red Feather is a 28-year-old nonprofit organization. The name Red Feather is a Lakota Sioux name, and it comes from the first individual that we assisted many years ago. And the founders of our organization, Robert and Anita Young, had they had got into a program called Adopt an Elder, and it was kind of like a pen pal thing. And through that, they met a lady named Catherine Red Feather, and they went out to visit Catherine on the Pine Ridge Reservation. And it was their first time, I think, in a Native community, and first time seeing kind of the housing conditions that existed there. And they were so moved by her situation, her desperate need for new housing, that they organized some friends and they helped build a house for her. And that at the time we weren't an organization yet, but that planted the seed for many years. For the first 15 years of our existence, we focused on straw bale construction.
Oh, wow.
Straw bale it's a super insulating way to build a house. And when we build homes and we talk about insulation value, usually there's an R value assigned. And so a conventional stick built house, at least back then, maybe had R values of around 15 in the walls, and a straw bale house on average has around 30. And that 30 is it's the thickness of the walls, in particular for straw bale, that really create for a really warm house, really durable homes. But we started moving away from straw bale because we were only doing 2 homes a year, and it's because a lot of that had to do with, it's really, as a nonprofit, we have to go out and get grants. We have to get donors to give us money, and it's a lot of money to build a new house. And there was also, like, when we were building houses, we required that homeowners had to get a mortgage. And there's a lot of challenges for Native Americans trying to obtain mortgages from banks,
Yeah.
uh, because banks can't, if you live on sovereign tribal lands and you get a loan from a bank, if you default on your home loan, the bank can't collateralize. They can't go back and take that home away from you. So we
Yeah.
were, for a lot of reasons, we had to move away from new construction, and we saw all of these families that had existing houses, often needing repairs. So we made like a conscious decision to start focusing more on repairs because
Mm.
we could reach more people. We didn't have to deal with banks as often.
Mm.
Um, so the organization, for many years we were serving northeastern Montana, and then we started working on the Hopi Nation, where we built 7 straw bale houses, but moved away from that. And then around 7 years ago, we started serving Dene communities as well. And today, so our kind of primary focus areas are, we education is first and foremost, because we believe that if families aren't aware of the importance of having a healthy home and how that can impact your health, and what strategies family members can take themselves to maintain their house, then even if we come in and give lots of repairs, that home will fall into a state of disrepair again if families aren't invested in their own home. So we prioritize education first, and then we have a case management program that we call Native Home Resource Network. And that network is essentially, we have a team of case managers, and when families call Red Feather and they're interested in housing assistance, our case managers listen to what the families need, and we first look at what resources the family might have. So for instance, like if a family knows how to repair their roof and they just need materials, then we'll work on getting those materials for the family. In some cases, maybe the family has funding and they just need a contractor referral, and we'll help provide that contractor referral to a family. But our case managers are essentially problem solvers and facilitators, and it's really a collaboration with the families and looking at what resources they have and that what resources we might be aware of. Some of those resources Red Feather has, and we can go into those in a little bit. But that's so we have education, case management, and then our third pillar is we act as a construction manager for a lot of families. So we have, and we use those kind of 3 pillars to position our work. And sometimes a family might have all 3, sometimes it might be just one of those. It just depends on the given situation.
Okay. Wow, that's really awesome. It sounds like in terms of working with Red Feather, you guys are able to kind of look at the situation that a person might be in holistically and be able to help them through even, your case management type of a system. I know that we'll get into some more of these other areas of how you are able to assist the people that you work with. Um, you talked about this as well too, but you know, um, how and why um, does Red Feather work with the tribal communities first? I mean, you did say that initially you guys were wanting to do some home construction, but that a lot of tribal members face problems or obstacles with mortgages. So the repair aspect of it, at least how I would see it, is there's probably a lot of homes on across the Navajo and Hopi reservation that are in need of repair. So is that maybe one reason that Red Feather had kind of stepped up to look at both nations and try to provide some service? Yeah, you can tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. Businesses have to be successful, and we were struggling to survive building new homes. And again, the demand was there for existing homes. And we knew that we could reach a lot more families than just doing 2 houses a year. 2 houses a year it's a substantial impact for that family that does get help and they get a new house. But being as a nonprofit and being reliant on a lot of different creative ways of finding funding, we wanted to spread that around. And we felt like, yeah, it's better to, we have a particular focus on health and safety. So we don't work on cosmetic issues on houses. If someone wants new countertops, if they want flooring, the only time we would like work on a flooring project would be if there's significant tripping hazards in the home.
Mhm.
So it was easier. Our model was successful when we switched to home repairs and we started reaching out to our funders. They saw it as a plus, because funders, for good or for bad, they like to see impact across a large area. And so that's been our kind of our go-to. And we've just gotten, I would like to think that we're getting better at doing it, but the demand keeps growing. Like, demand is really overwhelming. And there's not a lot of, until more recently, until the pandemic happened, sadly, there was very few. We're the only housing nonprofit that I'm aware of that has been around in recent years. There's been other attempts in the past, and we don't have some of the red tape maybe that like chapters have, or villages at Hopi, in trying to secure funding, because of government bureaucracy that might happen. And but even then, like, we've continued, like, finding funding is still, it's still a challenge for organizations. We're all our organizations, all the nonprofits that have been serving Navajo and Hopi communities, have seen a little boon because of COVID. People started paying attention to what was happening in Native communities. But prior to COVID, we've been screaming for years to the outside world that, like, using some of the deplorable statistics that exist, and we don't like to have to use those, like they call it. We want to talk about, when we're sharing stories from the communities that we serve, Navajo and Hopi communities, we want to talk about the resilience and the strength that exists in the communities. And we've also been trying to capitalize on that strength around housing repairs, because we know a lot of folks in these communities, because there hasn't been government assistance readily available. People have had to learn how to survive for themselves, how to patch their roof, how to put in a new door or window. And so a lot of our focus is on trying to continue to strengthen that that effort for homeowners.
Awesome. So when you're talking about also, like, patching the roof and doing some of these repairs, currently, what are some of the main types of projects, or most common types of projects that people are seeking your assistance on?
Well, it really runs the gamut. We get lots of requests for new homes, and for now, we just put them on a wait list for the day that someone comes to us and says, we have millions of dollars, and now you can help all those people that were asking for new homes. But we see lots of requests for roofing, and I think roofing is probably one of the most important things for families to focus their time on, because for obvious reasons, if a small roof leak turns into that isn't addressed immediately, and it just kind of nags for years and years, like, that's what turns into mold in the house, which can create really bad indoor air quality issues for a family. It also can destroy your insulation. It can destroy your walls. It can cost, a simple roof patch, if you stay on top of roof leaks, you can fix them with $100 or less, maybe or under $1,000. But a brand new roof, on average, you're looking, depending, if you have to hire a contractor, you could pay $7,000 to $10,000 if you have to pull off the whole roof, replace all the decking. So we see a lot of requests for that. we see a lot of people know. So we have, and this is only benefits Arizona APS customers. So this would be like Tuba City, Cameron, the Hopi Nation. APS is the utility provider for those parts, and they actually pay us to weatherize houses. We have a service contract with them. And sorry, I had someone peeking in my office, but
Yeah.
So home weather, a lot of people know us for home weatherization, and like, so through our APS contract and for APS customers, we can go in and add new insulation into homes. We can seal up air leaks. We can fix broken windows and doors. So that's a big focus of our work. We also have a really big, and this started when the Kayenta mine was slated to close. Hasn't closed yet, but we were aware that a lot of families have been burning wood and coal, particularly coal, in their homes for decades. And they were doing this because, you know, coal was free. You could get it from the mine, and it heats very effectively. But a lot of families were burning coal in unhealthy stoves, old potbelly style stoves or wood stoves they burned coal in that weren't designed to have coal. And so a lot of what we call P2M5s, or which is a scientific name for particulate matter, or the dust, and the dust that comes off of coal and wood burning that gets into the homes, it creates really bad indoor air quality issues. And there's a lot of evidence suggesting that that is why we see statistics such as like native communities have doubled the asthma rates of non-native communities. There was a big research study on the Hopi Nation conducted by University of Arizona, where they were looking at heating season and summer season, and they saw huge spikes during, for obvious reasons, in the winter, especially in homes that were using solid fuels. So we took a two-pronged approach. We developed a class for homeowners called Healthy Heating, and in that class we taught about kind of how to maintain your wood and coal stove. We taught about health and safety issues that people may not be aware of that come off of solid fuel burning. And we also talked about alternatives to solid fuel burning. And at the end of the class, and this is true for, we have a whole series of DIY classes. All the students, they got what we called a healthy heating kit, and it was like a chimney cleaning brush, carbon monoxide and smoke alarms, fire extinguishers, but things that can help people kind of create healthier burning practices in their home. So education through that pathway, and then also we started doing a lot of stove swap outs. So replacing old potbelly style stoves with modern, what they call EPA certified wood burning devices. And these are cleaner burning. They don't have the same P2M5s that get emitted. They also burn wood more efficiently. So we've seen like older stoves, especially pot belly style stoves, people will go through 2-3 times the amount of wood that you would with an EPA certified stove because of their efficiencies. And then we also have been doing a lot. There's a heating device. It's actually a heating and cooling device. They're called mini split heat pumps, and they're ductless, meaning like in a lot of conventional stick frame homes or houses in bigger cities, they have ducted heat. So you have a furnace system that puts heat into each room. Mini splits you don't have to have ducts in your house. And a lot of homes on the nations don't have duct systems, or the duct systems aren't in use. So these are perfect. They're really energy efficient, because if you're not using a room, you can simply turn the heat or cooling off to that room. And the heat pumps they're so energy efficient. So a traditional space heater, they run about 50% the cost of a traditional space heater. They produce 0 emissions inside the home. So for families that are looking to get away from solid fuel burning, because they're concerned about respiratory conditions or they're elders and they're no longer able to chop wood. Mini split heat pumps are a really good option. Figuring out how to pay for them is probably the big challenge for families. So for APS customers, we can install them for free.
Wow.
Otherwise, and the way kind of our process works is we're a small organization. So when people call, unfortunately, we do have a wait list, but when they are next in line to get case management services, if a heat pump is something that a family wants, our case managers would, we would try and allocate funds that we have, or we would reach out to one of our housing partners that we're aware of that are also working on Navajo or Hopi, and try and collaborate or find whatever resources we can to make the project happen. Yeah, so I'll let you ask more questions so I don't just keep
No, that's
rambling.
great. That sounds really awesome because I mean, on top of just providing repairs, it's really commendable that you guys are addressing and improving health conditions through repairs by looking a little further at some of the conditions that could exist within homes through repair, like the condition, the instance of our community members burning coal and burning some of these types of fuel, and how that impacts things like asthma and breathing conditions, at different times of the year is really it's something that is great that you can address through repairs, by replacing things like potbelly heaters and those types of our stoves and those kinds of things. But I'm gonna turn to our chat here, our comment section on our Facebook Live, and read some of these questions. We'll get back to some of the questions that I have, and some of these I do see that you have addressed, but since people are asking, I'm going to go ahead and ask them. One of our viewers says, "Are you helping those who are building their homes themselves?" Their comment would be, "Material building prices have gone through the roofs for families." So, are there things that Red Feather could do to assist people who are building their own homes?
Yeah, there's a few things that we can help with. And there's a whole plethora of things, and every case is different. So at a high level, like if someone calls us, we often get materials donated, and it's not going at the speed we'd like, but as we can staff up, we believe we can get more and more materials donated. So sometimes these might be slightly used materials or donated materials, but and we have an inventory available on our website if people visit our resources page. It's not extensive at this point, but we're always trying to build it. So that's one way, is through material donations. Families just simply need to call our office and ask for an application, and we would do intake on them. And then as they become next in line, we would like say, all right, let's develop a material list, and let's see what type of materials you need. We also have a network of volunteers, although in recent years, because of COVID and other reasons, it hasn't been as strong. But if someone is open to having volunteers come help on their project, like if they're building a new house and they're just looking for some labor, we can get volunteers. The challenge for us is finding skilled volunteers, and it's true for anyone. There's a lot of volunteers out there that, especially non-natives, that want to come and help out on projects, but they're more just general, like if you're doing demo work or something, or a painting project. We're always looking for skilled volunteers. We also have a program that it's under our case management program. We call it Direct Solutions. And essentially, a family, if you call and you need materials, we will provide up to $500 in materials. And the way it works is families have to go get a quote. They have to fill out a basic application, and then you go to Home Depot or Homeco or Lowe's or whatever, True Value, whatever your hardware store is. Get a quote from them. We just rolled this out a handful of months ago, and we love it, but it's also overwhelming our staff right now because we're getting so many requests
I see.
for assistance. But we're seeing everything from drywall to lumber, to hardware like doorknobs, security doors, roofing materials, and
Wow.
we just simply contribute 500. Some families they'll send us a quote and it's for $700, and they have to cover 200 of it because we stop it at 500.
I see.
And we don't limit that to construction materials alone. Like we allow for what we call health and safety devices. So
Mhm.
we've been replacing a lot of cooking stoves. A lot of people don't realize it, but like when we go in, so usually the way it works is if you're within our reach, before you get a direct solution, we like to conduct a home assessment, and we always test combustion appliances. So like cooking stoves, propane cooking stoves, or we've replaced dozens and dozens of cooking stoves because when we test them, they're often leaking carbon monoxide into the house, and carbon monoxide is at low levels, it can feel like flu-like symptoms.
Okay.
That's how someone would know. Like, hey, if you feel like you have the flu every time you're in your house,
Mhm.
and you feel better when you leave, it might be your cooking stove or your water
Wow.
heater, a carbon monoxide source. Um,
Okay.
and it's important. So we replace lots of those.
Mhm.
But so back to your initial question for the home repairs,
Mhm.
we also have this doesn't directly help with the question we received, but on the education section of our website, we have a bunch of videos, and we're always trying to roll out more. We haven't done any recently, but we have like instructional videos on different home improvement things that you can do for your house. Um, and YouTube is an amazing place. Like if I have a home construction project, you can bet I'm YouTubing it because there's a
Mhm.
YouTube out there for everything. So if someone's looking for
Sure.
technical knowledge,
Mhm.
we can provide that. If people are looking for contractors, again, on our website, it's called our resources list. We
Mhm.
have a list of contractors. So we often get calls like, do you know anyone that can do X for us? You know, patch a roof, do plumbing, electrical work, and we do. We know some. It's kind of the Angie's list or Red Feather's list, but we don't. It's up to the client or the individual to screen the contractor, and
Mhm.
we're just putting it out there so that people that are like, I don't know who to hire, I can't find anybody, that
Mhm.
we can provide them some leads. And we're always trying to build that list. So anyone that's out there that's listening, if you're a contractor and you want to get on our list, please contact us.
Sure.
And another little soapbox thing to share, we so under our education umbrella, we're really interested in, because of like this challenge of finding Hopi or Navajo contractors that
Mhm.
are in the communities. There's a lot of people that are good in the trades, but they're not licensed. And you
Okay.
know, a license doesn't make you doesn't necessarily prove that everything's going to work out perfect, but it does provide some sort of assurances. And we have a
Mhm.
scholarship fund for any Hopi or Navajo individual that would like to obtain their license, where we'll pay for the licensing fees, and we'll pay for first year bonding fees as well. So that the idea is to like to get this workforce available. Um, we There's a lot of hope that like under ARPA that there's going to be a lot more home construction happening across both nations. And something that all the contractors are looking for are trades professionals that are reliable and they feel they can hire. So we're trying to support that through helping support like the growth of local licenses. But we're also we're working with some of our funders, and we want to expand our scholarship program. So if people are interested in going to trade school, that we could potentially at least fund some of it, if not all of it. And another
Wow.
aspect that we're hoping to roll out, and we haven't rolled this out yet, but we're hoping to soon. Like, let's just say you're a builder and you need a new saw. and you don't have the capital right now to purchase tools, where we
Mhm.
can provide a tool scholarship as well.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and then I'm remembering now to also mention, it's we're hoping to roll out relatively soon, and it's going to be limited in scope, but we're creating a tool loan library. So this is,
Oh,
if a family, like if someone's doing their own projects, and if what they need is a generator or a cement mixer, we'd like to be able to help provide it's like a library card. You can come check out tools from Red Feather.
wow.
Right now, it's just based in Flag, but we have two
Mhm.
semi trailers, and
Mhm.
we're hoping to put one in the Tuba City area,
Mhm.
maybe one on the Hopi Nation, or on the other side closer to Loop. Um, clearly, like, just highlighting like our territory, like we're based in Flagstaff, so it's much easier for us to serve communities that are close to Flagstaff. But like the Direct Solutions program, where we provide $500 towards home repair materials, that one we're providing across Navajo. It's testing our limits right now, but we're doing our best. And yeah, so for folks that call in that want help, just be patient with us, um, and we'll do our best to help as many people as we can with that initiative.
Wow, that's really great. And just in case anybody's just joining us, some of the things that Joe mentioned are through Red Feather. They're able to assist with scholarships for Navajo and Hopi trades professionals to become licensed. If that's something you're interested in, make sure to at least reach out to Red Feather and inquire about it. Also, he mentioned a tool scholarship. Some of us are working in the trade, but we don't have the tools, and so there's those obstacles, and they're able to help with those things. Inquire about those things if you need them. And then I thought the tool loan project is something that's really cool, and he did say that there's some limitations to it, but just the fact that there's a company or a development company out there group who's thinking about addressing loaning tools to people, cement mixers, etc. I mean, that's really important. You know, when we want to get our construction projects going, and we're meeting these obstacles or facing these obstacles, there's a way that a group is thinking about helping our communities. So
Right.
thanks for that. That's really awesome. We can
Yeah,
elaborate more on those. Go ahead.
yeah, I would just add, part of the reason for doing that is, again, like you were talking, all the families that want to do their own projects or are capable of doing their own.
Mhm.
But we're also seeing like volunteer groups there. So there's a new nonprofit, folks might be familiar with them. They're not new, they're new to Dene communities. They're called Choice Humanitarian.
Okay.
And they're also working now to help improve housing, especially in the areas of the former Bennett Freeze, and
Wow.
the Navajo Hopi partition lands.
Hmm.
I was just thinking of them, and like they're trying to bring out large groups of volunteers, and as are others. Like we're working with, there's a project in Tuba City that's happening this weekend. It's for a lady named Mary Begay, and
Hmm.
they're going to rebuild her hogan. And there's like a group of college kids coming out from the East Coast, and
Hmm.
they have like 10 college kids, and we're providing the tools for the demo project. So we see a
Wow.
lot of volunteerism happening, both native and non-native, in Navajo and Hopi communities. But the groups don't generally have their own tools. So we're seeing a place where we can help contribute to a collaboration.
Wow.
And we like that. We like collaborating. Like it's tough if everyone's just relying on Red Feather to do everything from A to
Mhm.
Z. But
Yeah.
when we can provide a piece of the pie, it feels more like reciprocal
Mhm.
relationships, and we like reciprocal relationships, whether it's with an individual family or a larger group. And I think like we're nonprofit workers. We're all about the human spirit and coming together and collaborating together, and believe in
Yeah.
the power of many, and trying to
Yep.
support that.
Awesome, awesome. Another question from our comment section, and I think that you might have addressed this as well too. But do you assist Native families living in border towns? Is Red Feather specifically for uh, community members on on the reservations?
Generally speaking, yes, we only focus on families living directly on reservations, but
Okay.
that doesn't mean, like, if a family calls us and they need help from a border town, we can at least try and provide referrals,
Okay.
and information. Like, for example, there's a couple programs that we try and put out there frequently that we don't see people taking advantage of, but there's one called the USDA 504 Grant and Loan Program, and it's administered through the USDA. You can Google it and find it pretty easily, but the application process is a little frustrating and challenging. You have to have a lot of you have to be able to get all your paperwork in order, home site lease agreements, quotes. But essentially, if you're 62 or older, and if you meet the income requirements, you can get a $7,500 grant for free through the
Wow.
USDA. So that's substantial. And like, if someone called and we weren't able to directly help them, we would refer them to a program like that.
Okay.
So I said grant and loan. If you're over the income limits, the 504 program,
Mhm.
well, I don't want to confuse the listeners, but there's also a loan. You can also get a loan through the USDA. So
Mhm.
we a lot of folks, our experience has been, are not interested in going through those hoops. They just want direct assistance quickly, but I
Mhm.
do encourage people to take advantage of it. There
Mhm.
is, earlier I was talking about why we weren't doing new construction, some of the challenges
Yeah.
around securing mortgages. There's a program for Native Americans only. It's called HUD 184,
Yep.
and it's a loan instrument program designed because of the challenge I was like, where banks are not willing to give loans to Native Americans because of the tribal land being sovereign and them not being able to go on to the tribal land to take the house back.
Yeah.
The HUD 184 was designed because of that,
Mhm.
and it's catered more towards people that are working, that have decent incomes. But if you're interested in building a home, if you're interested in doing repairs, you're working and you have
Mhm.
decent credit, HUD 184 is really low interest rates.
Mhm.
It's a good tool for some to consider.
Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for that. Yeah, I think that there are some funding opportunities out there in terms of things like the 184 program and the other one that you have mentioned. But um, I think that you're right in terms of a lot of people want the direct assistance right now, and maybe get a little intimidated by the process of applying. However, when the money's there and you're able to access it by just filling out those applications, it's worth it. It's worth it in the end to be able to get funded and to do something that to have those funds supplement your projects.
Yeah.
One of our
Yeah, because
go ahead.
going back to the
Mhm.
importance of, like, it's worth the investment. People may not want to have to worry about a loan, but
Mhm.
you're essentially, if you're taking care of your health and your family by investing in your home.
Mhm.
Um, like, years of replacing that wood stove that you've always wanted to replace because it's turning your walls black. Imagine what it's doing to your lungs.
Yeah.
So, like, I encourage people to look at their finances, even if they're limited, and start and create a savings account and put a little bit of money away,
Mhm.
and plan for those repairs that you want to make. And our team can help with that. We have staff that are trained in financial counseling and things like that as well.
Cool. Wow. Great resource. Great resource. Another one of our viewers is asking, and you did ask, you did touch on this, but maybe you could elaborate on the difference between cosmetic repairs and some of the repairs that you guys um concentrate on and focus on. But one of our viewers said she needs help fixing flooring, and do you assist with that? But I know that you had talked about um, the cases in which you might, but maybe you can answer that as well.
Yeah, just to, I guess, to reiterate, we would work on a flooring issue if it creates a tripping hazard. in the home. If it's simply you just would like to put down tile in your house to beautify your home, while I encourage people to do that, and it can add safety benefits. It's kind of a low priority for us. It wouldn't get our attention because there's too many homes that you go into them and you have cardboard for a window, or the home doesn't have secure locks, or so because of the immense demand, we tend to triage requests. So
Okay.
hopefully that answers that question.
Sure. Well, yeah, I appreciate those answers. That's about some of the things that people have been commenting on in the chat. I'll go ahead and kind of just go back to some of the things that we had been talking about in terms of maybe some of the projects that Red Feather can assist with. I know that we discussed this a little bit, but maybe you could talk about some of the workshops that Red Feather provides, some of the mini grants that you guys are able to work with our community members on, and maybe just elaborate as again and a little bit more on how Red Feather would like to help people by focusing on, them helping themselves, being able to reinforce that resilience within our communities through people taking the initiative to undertake these home repairs in their houses, and then how Red Feather can support them, maybe through the workshops, mini grants, etc.
Sure. So a couple of our workshops, and we're hoping to. Unfortunately, during COVID we had to pivot, and we put as much of our workshop material online as possible, and that's on our website. There's videos you can go and watch there. Everything from, some of it's construction, some of it's just like building awareness, or providing what we would call like a healthy home. I'm making up a name right now, but like not a construction material, but things like HEPA filters, for example. A HEPA filter is a device that it requires electricity, but it cleans the air. And there's a lot of strong science that shows in homes that use wood or coal stoves in their home, that using a HEPA filter significantly reduces the amount of particulate matter in the air. We have like an instructional video on our website of how you can make we call it you can't call it a HEPA filter because that has a specific type of filter, but we have an air cleaning filter that's a DIY filter. You essentially use a box fan, and you go to like a hardware store and you buy furnace filters, and you have to buy a specific type so that it cleans the air, but you duct tape those to a box fan, and you just made a $25 HEPA filter. But we also have a grant program for those that are listening that we can provide. If you're interested in a HEPA filter, reach out to our office, because we have funding to a certain extent that we can provide HEPA filters to families in need. As far as workshops go, so like we never offered that one per se, but we want it. It's a new one for us, the DIY HEPA filter. We have a class that had rave reviews in the past, and we're excited to hopefully bring it back this fall. It's called Women's DIY Home Repair. And the reason we focused on women is, in our experience, often it's lots of single moms out there that are taking care of homes, and it kind of maybe a more comfortable learning environment for them if it's just all women. And we start the class with teaching basic things like tape measure skills. But you'd be surprised. Not knowing how to use a tape measure is pretty common, and using it right is important for your project planning. But the class starts with like tape measure skills. We have a tool safety training, and all of the students, they build their own toolbox, and made out of wood, an old kind of carpenter style toolbox that has a bar that runs across the top. It's open faced, but they get to work with power tools in building that. And we fill that with tools that they get to take home. And then it's a 2-day class. And on the second day of the class, after learning basic carpentry skills, we'll select a few people from the class, and we'll go to their house, and we'll do something simple like replace a running toilet, swap out the toilet or swap out the hardware in the toilet, replace a lock, put on a screen door, maybe patch a roof leak, things like that. So that's our women's DIY class. We have a home weatherization class where very similar, like you learn about home weatherization, why it's important. At the end of the class, we give you a DIY weatherization kit. It's what we would call low hanging fruit, things like weather stripping for your doors, door sweeps, caulking, foam to fill up gaps in the house. And in that class too, we go to a couple of the students' homes and practice weatherization skills. And then our healthy eating class that we teach. And then during the pandemic, we started delivering hand washing stations to across Hopi and Navajo. We had our own design that we came up with. I know that Navajo Hopi COVID Relief was doing the white sinks, the hand washing systems, but we built from a group. We learned from a group out of California, a nonprofit, but we've done over 1,000 hand washing units. But we were teaching workshops so communities could learn how to build these systems themselves. But they're high capacity hand washing systems. They hold around. We use 2 35-gallon trash cans, one for clean, one for dirty water, and it has a foot pump. And it's basically 2 trash cans, a foot pump, and some PVC piping. And those were a big hit. We're not doing as many of those right now, just because it seems now that the pandemic is somewhat slowed down, people are not asking for hand washing stations as much. But another resource we have in addition to the HEPA filters is we have water tanks available for families that we learned, like, people like the hand washing stations a lot, but people were also using them to store water. So we started doing some, and we still have available for families in need, 250-gallon or larger water storage devices. And the pandemic in general, like previously Red Feather didn't do a lot of water work per se. Like we did plumbing repairs was where our focus was. But now, in the end of this pandemic, we're invested more heavily now in water solutions for families. And that could vary from family to family. We've even done, some folks out there might be familiar with something called the source panel. And it acts like a dehumidifier. It's a solar panel that pulls moisture from the air and creates drinking water. And it creates around 2 to 4 liters of drinking water a day, one panel. So a 2-panel system. You're looking at 8 liters of water. The Navajo Nation did a contract with this company Source and installed 300 of these units across the nation. And they work, surprisingly, in really arid conditions. You wouldn't think that in the Southwest that a device like that could work, but that's another solution that we've been putting out there as well. It's not a great solution for large families, but a family of 2 to 4, a source panel might help solve their drinking water needs.
Awesome. Well, I think especially since the pandemic, we've seen the cost of materials kind of increase just across the board. Are home repair projects becoming more costly? What are some averages in terms of maybe doing home roofing projects? And I know that you talked about mini grants. Are there ways that some of our viewers, our community members, are able to access, again, funding or ways to supplement the funds that will go into their home repair projects?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, our mini grant program, also known as Direct Solutions, it's a $500 allowance. That you can buy quite a few materials for $500, especially if you're doing the work yourself. I'll stress that our ability to respond to demand for that is a little limited. So for people, if they do send in a request or to be patient with red feather. But yeah, across the board, costs have gone up astronomically. Lumber lumber has stabilized a little bit, but there was a time in the pandemic when lumber prices were changing every day. But I'm afraid it might be the world we live in. I don't know that prices are going to start going down, and that is not just for materials. Contractors increase their costs then if you hire a contractor, because they have higher fuel costs to get, projects on Hopi and Navajo, especially Navajo, tend to be remote and isolated, and the logistics of running projects there are a challenge. But yeah, so in general, like, yes, prices are expensive, but on average, and we generally don't go in and do a complete remodel on a house. We triage, we work with the family to identify what are the biggest priorities in the home, what are the realistic projects that we think we can accomplish. And when we have funding ourselves for home repairs, and like we're managing it, our average cost is around $6,000 per house. And that is usually sufficient not to fix everything. It's like, hey, you have 4 things on your list. Maybe we'll get to 1 or 2 things with this. And what are the most important 1 or 2 things? And again, every home is different, but so that's how we determine. And then the way red feather kind of because demand is so intense for services, a lot of folks we do have to put them on a wait list, and it's just the nature of the beast. And but the nice thing about being on a wait list and us knowing about people is it might not be red feather that ultimately ends up helping you. Yeah, it might be red feather referring you back to your like working with your chapter to try and get ARPA dollars. I talk about that in future tense because we don't know how that's going to pan out, but I think some of us are hoping that we see some of those ARPA dollars make it to home repairs, or it might be that we refer you, if we can refer someone to one of our partners, and again, like Choice Humanitarian, Assist to Independence, or 2 of them that are awesome groups that are doing similar work that we can connect people to. We'll do that as well. So ultimately, like, it's kind of our main, like, people often ask us, how do you prioritize clients? Generally speaking, the way we prioritize is if possible, first come, first serve, but also what is your need? So for red feather, if you're an APS customer, you're going to get prioritized because we have funding from APS and it's unlimited. It's not unlimited, but it renews every year. So we're going to prioritize APS customers because we can help them. And then everyone else, it's kind of like order, when did we receive their application? And then if it starts getting close in dates, we do things like, are they an elder? Are they a household with children? We do our best. There's a lot of pressure on nonprofits to like be equitable. We do our best to be equitable and fair and just and help as many people as we can.
Great. Wow, that's really awesome. And I'm really glad to hear about all of the ways that you guys are able to assist our tribal communities. It's very enlightening to me. I mean, I've heard of red feather, and I know that you guys are out in the communities, but just some of these ways that you're able to support people to help themselves is really more kind of valuable in the end than just coming in and saying, okay, well, we're just doing everything for you. But and then in other areas where you're able to, with the funding available, come in and assist people, that's awesome as well too. Throughout your work career and your time working with tribal communities, what have been some inspiring takeaways from assisting some of the families that you've been able to?
I think personally, like, there's kind of like 2 levels. There's those folks that have been asking for help for years, especially elders that maybe they live alone, or they feel lost and they don't know how to access the resources. And being able to connect with those individuals and hearing stories like, like no one else would come to the rescue, or I would have slipped through the cracks if it wasn't for Red Feather, is inspiring. So it's nice to, and it's sad when you hear those stories of people that are so desperate that they're not getting help, and they don't have a vehicle. They're at home. They're older. It can be a real challenge for them. So those are always a pleasure to work on those cases, and we really like the cases that are a reciprocal relationship with the family, where we're working together. It's not just Red Feather going in, like you said, and doing it, and we get a wave at the door, and that's it. It feels less fulfilling on those type of projects.
Yeah.
But we constantly wrestle with the question of how, like, nonprofits exist because we fill in the when they say when the government and the private or corporate world aren't meeting the need, that the nonprofit sector has to be there. And clearly there's a need in Navajo and Hopi communities for housing support, but we're trying to find a way of addressing that need, as you said, but also building local resilience, not like creating a further dependency on outside people to fix everything. Both are justified. Like it's needed and it's warranted, given the kind of historic trauma caused by colonialism and the state that that tribes haven't been able to fully develop. And we're happy to help fill that void. And I know we're nearing the end, and I did want to do a big shout out that
Sure.
we're actually hiring for 3 positions right now: program manager position, a program administrator position, and a construction manager. So
Okay.
I encourage people to. We're going to post them on our website. I don't think they're actually on our website, so check our website or call our office. Everyone can find us on Facebook, or you can find our website is redfeather.org.
Okay. Well, you've been a great guest, Joe. I appreciate it. Do you mind if we were able to put some contact info in our comment section, just so people can reach out? I do want to also reiterate that if you're just joining us, Red Feather has been Red Feather does have a little bit of a waiting list, but that's just because the needs are so great and people are reaching out to them consistently. However, please don't let that deter you. If you have some questions in regards to some of their workshops, in regards to some of their mini grants, any of the things that we've mentioned here, definitely go to the source and reach out. Joe and his staff will point you in the right direction and let you know what they're available to do. So I appreciate your participation here today, Joe. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for assisting our communities in the ways that you're able to. Did you have any last words you might want to say just before we sign off here?
No, I think it's been an honor to be able to come on and talk to the audience and everyone that's listening, and encourage people to check out our website and follow us on social media. Is a great place to see what we're up to, both on Facebook and Instagram.
Great. So yeah, we're at the top of the hour again. Thanks everybody for joining us. As you are aware, we're still kind of at the end of a pandemic, maybe not at the end. We still have COVID out there. Please remember to take your safety precautions and act on them. Wear your mask if you can, if you're in a crowded place. We're in a graduation season. A lot of our tribal members are going to graduations and family events. Just be safe, caution on the side of air. If you're sick, stay home. If you feel like you have any symptoms coming on, make sure to get a rapid test. Those rapid tests are pretty much easily accessible. We did have some news that the federal government is going to be offering a third round of free rapid tests. So when you see that and it's available to you, make sure to get them. We want to protect our communities so that we're able to reinforce resilience, to be able to do these home repairs within our communities. And we can only do that if we're healthy. So stay healthy, and everybody will talk to you soon. Hagonet. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.